3 for 30. Got a video today, and we're going to be talking about the tweet that you can, see on the screen here. And if 99% of those who hate China due to U.S. propaganda visited the country to explore or investigate, their perspectives would shift within 6 hours of arrival. The change is already happening, he says. I've met 6 individuals, 4 Americans and 2 British people, and they're now actively countering misinformation about China after what they saw with their own eyes. Approximately 37% of these misinformed China haters refuse to visit because they fear having to publicly apologize and face humiliation for believing lies, being misled, and acting as unwanting slaves for the Western legacy of media. Where do we even start? Well, you see, this is what CCP propaganda looks like when it's dressed up to sound woke, friendly, and enlightened. This is gaslighting. Okay, this is a technique used all over and over again. The idea that anyone critical of the Chinese government is just some gullible fool, who's never been to China. You hear that over and over. You've never been to China. And the second that you get off the plane, your whole worldview crumbles because you saw a clean subway station, a shopping mall, and some neon lights. Woo! Let me make this very clear. Visiting China doesn't erase this problem. It just masks them, right? When you land in a place like Beijing or Shanghai or Shenzhen, what you're seeing is the carefully curated showroom floor. You're not seeing what happens in the countryside. You're not seeing the hidden cameras, the censorship, the social pressure, the fear. The parents trying to convince their kids to stay quiet at school so they don't get flagged. Okay? You're seeing what the CCP wants you to see. Think about this for a second here. 6 hours. How could you really understand a people, a culture, or a place within 6 hours? Is that really possible? And that tweet, the arrogance, it assumes anyone who criticizes China has never been there. Never been there? That we're all just brainwashed by Western media. As if people like me didn't live there for years. As if I didn't see what happens when someone says the wrong thing. As if I didn't talk to locals. Anyway, because I can't speak Chinese. Right? Here's the thing that's frustrating. It's just so frustrating. But watch them lower their voice when the topic changes to politics, or Xi Jinping, or Hong Kong, or COVID. I've seen real fear. These people, they defend China. Again, this is frustrating. They defend China so strongly, but they refuse to criticize it. Whenever we talk about like self-censorship, I'm talking about real self-censorship here. I'm talking about people that are afraid to say things because it means that your family gets visited, your boss gets a phone call, your social credit drops, you disappear. Okay? There are multiple YouTubers, just YouTube people that we have known, that while they lived in China were censored, where their jobs were put in jeopardy. And it happened. Like, we've seen it happen. Okay? But these propaganda peddlers, they don't talk about that. They want you to believe that 6 people they met, now see the truth about China. Well, here's the truth. 6 people don't matter. Anecdotes don't erase oppression. Just because you didn't see a problem doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's like visiting North Korea and going to, one approved hotel and getting a guided tour and then saying, hey, not so bad here, is it? And let's talk about the last part of the tweet, where they say 37% of the misinformed China haters won't visit because they fear public humiliation. 37%. That's the most unhinged projection that I've ever read. You think people are afraid of visiting China because they'll be embarrassed to admit that they were wrong. No, they're afraid because they know they're not wrong. They don't want to be followed. They don't want to be watched. They don't want to be detained or worse, right? They don't want to be inconvenienced by the simple fact that they can't contact their own family when they're in China because Facebook doesn't work, because Google and all these platforms that they're used to in their daily life doesn't work anymore. Okay? Let me ask you something. If you walked around telling people your country was perfect, but the only way they could learn that was by coming and seeing it for themselves, under strict surveillance, on controlled tours with monitored conversations, do you really think that proves anything? Does it really? China's not a bad place because of how it looks. It's not about infrastructure. It's about freedom. It's about truth. It's about what you can't say, that you can't search, that you can't post. It's about who disappears when they challenge the system. It's about the Uyghurs. It's about the disappearing billionaires, the journalists who never come back, the students who vanish. It's about fear disguised as peace. These tweets, they try to rebrand criticism of China as ignorance. And it's dangerous. They want to make you feel crazy for asking questions. They want to make you doubt what you've read, what you've seen, what you've heard from people who've lived it. But here's what you need to know. Real propaganda doesn't make you angry. It makes you comfortable. It tells you what you want to hear. Come visit China. It's fine. It's beautiful. It's great. You've been lied to. Everything here is gorgeous in China. It's super cheap. You can get anywhere you want to go. You'll love it. That's how it works. I'm not one of the 99% who've never been to China. I've been there. I lived there. I've loved people there. I've seen beauty, hospitality, hard work, and culture. But I've also seen surveillance. I've seen fear. I've seen silence. I've seen oppression. I've seen lies about so many things over there. And I'm not going to shut up just because someone on Twitter thinks that, we need to be re-educated by a vacation. If anything, these tweets prove that the exact opposite of what they claim. Because if the truth is so obvious, why are they working so hard to convince you? Right? Why does the CCP spend billions on foreign propaganda? Bots, influencers, and Westerners on payroll, and not just Westerners, but irrelevant Westerners. I mean, these people are not even celebrities. These are just random losers off the internet. It's because they know the truth does get out. And they know that when it does, it spreads. So I'm going to keep speaking. And if that makes me a misinformed slave to a legacy media, fine. I'd rather be misinformed and asking questions than fully informed by a regime that doesn't allow them. I'm just getting started. Again, 30 for 30. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.